everyone, and welcome to the first session of the Lifestyle Education Series for our weight loss clinic. I'm Dr. Via Vicencio. Most of you know me already from having met me in clinic or having worked with me prior. Just to introduce myself briefly, I am triple boarded in internal medicine, endocrinology, and metabolism, and by the American Board of Obesity Medicine for weight loss. I have a personal passion of helping people to get healthy and stay healthy with regards to their diet and physical activity plans. I hope that you are excited as well because we are going to embark on a journey that's going to last the next few months to help you achieve your weight loss goals. So with that, we'll just get started. On the first session, this is entitled Personal History. We're going to be talking about how your personal history, including childhood, adolescence, and your experiences in life have led you to where you're at today. Okay, so first point is you want to try to identify how family meal patterns from your childhood are reflected in your current meal patterns today. So think back to whenever you were a kid and try to remember what was life like and how you guys ate as a family. Did you eat 3 square meals a day? Did mom have everything, or dad, I should say that. Did mom or dad have everything, prepared for you and you guys ate together as a family for dinner? Was it kind of a fend for all? Did people graze? Was there times when there wasn't food around, when there was a scarcity of food, and then whenever food did come, was available, people were kind of eating more, things like that. Were there siblings that were competing for like the tastiest food or the best food? Older siblings, younger siblings, things like that. How did you guys approach fast food? Were the parents both working and didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare healthy meals, and so were you guys on the go a lot, and having to pick up things real quick? So there's a lot of different ways that families approach food, and those things will tend to bleed over in how we our eating patterns as adults. So I want you to open up your journal and go ahead and write down for me. I want you to describe what you recall about your family meal patterns when you were growing up. And then, this may take 30 seconds or so. Just go ahead and pause the video so that you can write your response. After you do that, I also want you to describe your current meal patterns. And then number 3, think about what aspects of your childhood meal patterns do you see carrying over to your adult patterns. And go ahead and write all those things down. You can pause the video. So in this next section, we're going to think about how parental attitudes towards appearance, size, and food influence your feelings and behaviors about food today. So kind of try to think back about things that your parents may have said to you, said about others, made comments and things like that you might have soaked in when you were a kid, that kind of form what you think about your appearance and other people's body appearance these days. For example, sometimes parents will kind of tease their kids and call them names that they think are endearing but actually sometimes can be hurtful. For example, a parent might call their son or daughter a pudgy bear, things like that, or Miss Piggy, things like that. And on the outside, it may be, like I said, endearing, but those things can be hurtful. And sometimes they can cause a feeling of shame or a feeling of kind of rebellion or hurtfulness that can come out with different attitudes towards food. So I want you to write down in your journal what you remember were your parents' attitudes about appearance and size when you were young. So that's number 1. And then 2, I want you to describe the effects of their attitudes on you then as a child and now as an adult. And then 3, I want you to describe what you use as guidelines now to determine whether or not you feel good about your appearance. And you can go ahead and pause the video and write down those 3 things. So in this next section, we're going to be thinking about a little bit more outside of the nuclear family and thinking about how peers, the media, and things like that affect our relationship with food. For example, how do peers affect what food choices you make? When you go to a party, do you feel like you are pressured to eat certain things that other people are eating. Growing up, think about maybe during adolescence, there are certain sports that tend to really put a lot of emphasis on a certain type of body type or physique, like wrestling, like ballet, like cheerleading, things like that. Did you kind of experience any types of things like that? And then what about gender roles? What types of physique or body type do you tend to think of as masculine, and which ones do you tend to think of as feminine? And how are those, the the body types that are portrayed on TV in movies and with actors and actresses and models and things like that? How do those affect how you think about those norms and body types? So part of this is why this is important is because that one of our goals is going to be to help you to lose a medically significant amount of weight loss. And so we're going to be shooting for around 10% of total body weight or more. And many of you will achieve that 10%, and many of you will achieve even more than that. But it's going to take time to get us to that point. And so we need to kind of think about the other parts of ourselves that are important, and learn to appreciate other aspects of ourselves other than just our appearance. So I want you to go ahead and write down as many words and phrases that you can think of that describe your appearance. And do this without using weight-related terms like, heavy, chunky, anything like that. I want you to think of things like you're tall, you're graceful, you have long dark hair, you're eloquent, anything like that. And go ahead and write those down. Second thing I want you to think of is what can you do during this time of weight loss or lifestyle modification that it will take for you to do that in order for you to lose the desired weight that you want, to increase the pleasure you experience from your non-weight attributes. Let me say that again because it's kind of long. What can you do during the time it will take for you to lose your desired weight to increase the pleasure you experience from your non-weight attributes? And number 3, I want you to name the limits you recognize regarding your physical structure and describe what you have done or can do to accept those limitations. So to kind of bring this full circle, the moral of the story here is don't make the mistake of letting yesterday use up too much of today. In other words, we've kind of went through looking at what your past history is, how your parental, your home life as a child, your parental attitudes, different things in society are the context of how you came to where you are today in your relationship with food and in your personal experience as far as your body image. And so those are things that are in the past. We can't change those things. And although they do give us some perspective as to how we got to where we are today, we don't want to use those excuses to stay where we are. So because we have totally in our own control the choice of how we respond to that past and how we move forward from here on. And so I want you to take that and use that as kind of fuel or a way to make your next action plan. Because from here on, you're going to start setting goals for yourself, understanding the past that you came from, and how we're going to move forward going on. So I want you to, in your journal now, think of 3 key goals. I want you to think of 2 goals that are long-term goals and 1 goal that's a short-term goal that you're going to try to make sure that you accomplish within the next week. So the rules on making your goals are that the goals need to be realistic, they need to be doable, they need to be specific, and they need to be flexible. And I'll repeat those to you as we move forward, as we continue to make goals. But realistic, doable, specific, and flexible. So for example, a short-term goal that you might have in order to help you kind of identify interpersonal skills and things that that you may need to permanently change in order to improve your relationship with food is, for example, if you had an experience as a child where you were constantly critiqued and that made you feel bad, and then feeling bad made you eat, then trying to unpair those two things of feeling bad and then eating as a way to cope with that, with the feelings of depression or anger. So you can think of things that you could do instead of eating to cope with that, those feelings of distress. For example, you could say, okay, every time whenever I feel bad, instead of doing that, I'm going to go to my room and meditate for 10 minutes. Or I'm going to go outside and I'm going to take a walk for 10 minutes. And so that's a specific thing that you're going to do when that specific thing happens, and for how long and where you're going to do it. So that gives you an action plan that you can put in place when you find yourself in that situation. As far as long-term goals, as your physician, I'm hoping that we can not only improve your weight as far as dropping the number of pounds or kilos, but I'm also hoping to help reduce your blood sugar if you're a diabetic or pre-diabetic, helping to reduce your blood pressure and cholesterol, or help you to maybe come off of some medications that are that you're treating some of those conditions with. Some of your personal goals may be the same, but right now I want you to be specific about this and write down in your journal exactly the weight that you are wanting to achieve by the end of our program. So write down the number. If you're wanting to get to a certain A1C or blood sugar, go ahead and write that down. If you're wanting to come off blood pressure medications, whatever it is, wanting to be able to, walk around and play with your grandkids and your knees don't hurt, write that down, because we're going to be able to circle back with this when the program is completely done and measure our success based on what our goals are today. So with that, that's kind of the end of our program for today. I thank you so much. I'm very excited to work with you. Stay positive. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to have ups and downs, and that's okay. That's kind of the process. So I'm looking forward to working with you one-on-one in clinic. And as we continue these modules, please bring your journals with you to clinic, because I may be asking you about some feedback. You don't have to read them to me, show them to me personally. These are for your own personal use, so feel free to write everything that you want to write, but do bring them with you, because you may want to reference them whenever we talk about different topics. All right, well, thank you so much. And again, I'm very excited and looking forward to working with you. Have a good week.